Well, just a brief comment about the last game. Not much different than what I said after the game. Pretty pleased with the standard that our team played to in terms of the effort, the toughness that we played with. There was a lot of good hustle in the game, a lot of good things to teach from in terms of having an opportunity to learn, grow, and improve, and pleased with the players' attitude relative to how they approached that game. One thing I would like to say is I would really like to congratulate Greg on being one of the 12 finalists, for the Rhodes Scholar. I think it was a great experience for him. I think it's an honor to him and his family that he was in that position. And, in my opinion, as a person, a leader, I know the competition is tough, but this guy is one of the best guys in the country relative to anything that anybody would want to pick for anything. And sometimes you don't control all the factors, when you get in this arena. But he's been great for us. He's been great for our team. He's a great leader. And I don't see how you can be any better person. And I know he's very intelligent. And I know he's going to be extremely successful. And I know this experience will be something that'll be a positive for him in his future. We had some players of the week, William Vallejos and Darius Hanks on offense, Chris Jordan and D. Milner on defense, Brandon Gibson, Chavis Williams, and Jarrell Harris on special teams. All those guys did a really good job in the game. It was great to play so many players in the game, and here you have some players that are player of the week who have not been starters, for whatever reasons. But from an injury standpoint, I think Barrett Jones is the only player who, will not be 100% today and probably will not practice much, today. But he is making progress. We're still hopeful that he'll be able to do a significant amount of work as the week progresses and have an opportunity to play in this game. This is obviously one of the greatest rivalries in college football. The Iron Bowl has been going on in this state for a long, long time, and it's kind of unique that almost everybody in the state is on one side or the other, and two great schools with great football histories and obviously pretty good teams this year. A lot of players that played against each other in high school and knew each other, played in good programs, and were developed, and I think it says a lot for the football in this state to have two teams of this caliber playing in the Iron Bowl, this particular year. The focus this week is on the Alabama-Auburn game. It's not about anything that's going on outside. It's not about what happened last year. None of that really matters. It's about this week, this time, this game, and our focus is going to be on the preparation for our team to play the best football and give our guys the best opportunity to be successful against a very good team. The culmination of your season sort of gets judged, by how you do in a game like this. So we want to play our best football, do the best job we can of executing. And if there's any distractions that don't affect how you perform in the game, you should get rid of them, because that's not going to help you play your best in the game. Your focus should be on your preparation of what's going to help you play. That's coaches, players, that's everybody involved in the program. Auburn's done an outstanding job this year. I know how hard it is to go win 11 games in a row, and they have been consistent and effective, and their offense is one of the best in the country in terms of their production, and their quarterback does a tremendous job for them. His versatility is excellent, but their team executes well. Their offensive line does a good job. They've got good skilled players outside. They've got other guys that complement each other as runners, and they do a very good job of utilizing their personnel offensively, and defensively they got quite a few guys back from a year ago and have played extremely well on defense and always been able to make plays when they need to make them. A lot of turnovers, a lot of negative plays. So they're a very, very capable team. They're very good on special teams. So this is a good all-around football team that we're playing, and we're going to have to play our best game to have an opportunity to be successful.
Coach, last year they had an extra week to prepare, and I think during the first half you talked about your team being able to survive the bleep storm, as you put it. This year, having some younger guys on defense, are you concerned about their challenge as well to this year also survive all the different things that they might throw at you in the first half?
Well, I don't think there's any question about it. You know, they do a lot of things offensively and do it very well. So it's not like they just do a bunch of junk. It's a well-conceived, you know, what they do. They do a good job of executing it. They present it to the defense a lot of different ways that requires various adjustments that need to be made. Obviously, when you have an older, more experienced team, but at least, you know, I feel better about the practice time that we're going to have this year to be able to have a chance to get prepared, you know, for the game, because we'll at least have a normal week. And it's going to take some real maturity on our players' part to be able to handle and manage this, because the multiples you don't want to make mental errors on, and because they'll take advantage of it if you do.
Nick, obviously to the fans, this is the biggest game of the year. How much of a sense do you get while you're coaching in the game that this game has more pressure or has more magnitude than maybe the other 11?
Well, I don't think as a coach you really sort of look at it that way. I mean, that's one of those external things that you don't want to affect you, that, you know, you have to be disciplined in your approach to sort of stay focused on the moment. You know, that play in the game, that situation in the game, that time in the game, so that you make good choices and decisions and help your team do the best they can. I think those kinds of things can be a distraction, but I think that's something that you really work hard to, as a coach, to make sure are not affecting your team. And we want to focus on playing our best football, which means how do we execute on that play at that time, like that play has a history and a life of its own, and all that other stuff really doesn't matter. So, I mean, it's out there and it's there, and it's great to have an opportunity to play in games that are meaningful like this to so many people and there's so much interest in. And it's a great opportunity to play against a great team. But at the same time, you want to focus on the game, not on all the other stuff.
And Cam Newton certainly gets a lot of publicity, but talk about Nick Fairley and the impact he's had on their defense.
Well, he's, you know, I mean, I don't know, he's got 7.5 sacks, 18 tackles for loss, whatever. Very dominant player inside, very athletic, plays hard, very physical, plays with a lot of toughness, and you know, he's certainly a guy you got to handle inside, run and pass. You know, probably as good a interior lineman in terms of being a playmaker as, you know, anybody we played all year, and maybe one of the better guys in the country.
Coach, you kind of referenced the diversity in the running game. You got guys who run up the middle, and then when you start focusing on the middle, you got guys in the perimeter. How much harder does that make a team to defend when they've got guys who can hit you both ways? Well,
I think that it takes a tremendous amount of discipline all the way around to, you know, you just can't play good gap control inside and fit the plays exactly like you're supposed to. The perimeter players need to do a really good job as well. And, you know, probably as many big plays as they have comes because of their perimeter plays. And I think that's a real key. And the way you play to stop the runs, you can't give up big play passes, you know, which we gave up a couple last year, and they've hit on numerous occasions this year on people. So this takes a lot of discipline for everybody to do exactly what they're supposed to do and be where they're supposed to be, because they attack the perimeter just as effectively as they do, you know, the interior. So on every play, you've got to be sound in both areas.
Coach Newton, at times, people have defended him correctly, and he still has made plays. Just talk about the challenge of, as you said, mentally doing everything correct, being in position, how important it is to get him on the ground when you have the opportunity, because if you don't, he can turn a 5-yard gain into an 80-yard touchdown.
Right. Well, he's a great athlete. You know, there's no doubt about that. And I think that you have to do a great job of tackling. He's a big guy. He's got long arms. He's good stiff arm. He's really good change of direction and has deceptive speed. And I think when, they spread you out on the field and he scrambles, or even when he's running one of his running plays, that you got to do a good job of tackling. You got to do a good job of leveraging, and you got to do a good job of tackling. And, that's what makes great players great. They're hard to tackle, and he's certainly one of those guys.
All right. Coach, on the subject of Cam Newton, how does he challenge you compared to Tim Tebow? Is that a similar type thing you're looking at, or is that different?
Well, I think, both guys are great players and were great players for their team, and certainly impacted the game. But I think even though there's some similarities in some of the plays that they run, I think their style is completely different in terms of how they do those things. And it's not to say that one's better than the other, it's just they're different. And, Cam's very athletic, deceptive, makes people miss, change of direction, plays with toughness. He'll put his head down on you too. But I don't like to compare players. They're both very, very good players, but to me, a different style, even though they both were effective runners.
Coach, a couple of questions. First, I want to ask you about the home crowd. You've mentioned a couple times this season how much you think the home crowd at Alabama helps the team. In terms of disrupting checks for the opposition, what kind of impact have you seen in home games on that?
Well, I think that it's been a factor, no doubt, that it's harder to play offense when there's a lot of noise. Harder to hear the snap count if you have to go on silent. Sometimes guys get off the ball late. It certainly affected us, and we played on the road at times. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of enthusiasm and excitement for this game, and hopefully it'll be a benefit to our players.
And secondly, a couple times this year when you face a running quarterback, I think against Missouri and Ole Miss and one or two other weeks, you've mentioned that it's a dangerous thing to play man defense in the secondary because their backs are turned when the quarterback gets loose. Can you just discuss that as it relates to defending Auburn?
Well, I think it's a very similar situation, They get an empty and you're trying to play man-to-man, or they free release the back and the guy's got them. You run out of there and they run a quarterback draw, or he scrambles with the ball. You got 4 guys playing against 5. You have to play a certain way so that you don't give those opportunities to a great player, and he recognizes it like that, and he knows exactly what he wants to do, and it's difficult to defend, so you got to make sure you always got enough guys in there to make it happen.
You've picked up the pace with your offense the past couple of games. What are the advantages and what possible disadvantages are there?
Well, we just seem like we play better. That's the only advantage that I can say. I think we've always sort of practiced a lot of no huddle. We've always thought it was a good thing to set the tempo, but it seems to help us with our tempo, on offense. We seem to play fast and get going a little bit better when we do that. So, that has been the advantage. I don't know what the disadvantage is because we haven't made a lot of errors. It hasn't affected our execution. We've actually played better when we've played that way.
And how well has Josh Chapman played this year?
Really well, especially in the last few games. He's always been a strong guy, hard guy to block, good at holding the point. But I think his mobility has improved, and he's making more plays and playing with a little more quickness, and I think that has been very beneficial to him. But he's been probably as consistent a performer for us up front as anyone.
There's plenty of talk about Cam Newton and what he can do. Who are the other guys that are the playmakers that people might not talk about?
Oh, well, I think it's pretty obvious. Number 5 is a really good runner. 23 is a really good player. 27's a really good pass receiver. 89's a really good player. 81's really good running reverses and catching balls. They all do a good job of blocking. Their offensive line is probably as good a bunch as we played against all year. Tight end's a really good receiver. I hope I didn't leave anybody out.
Outside of the Mississippi State game and LSU for Auburn, pretty much every game for them has been a shootout. How critical are explosive plays for your offense, especially early on, to not let them get away?
Well, I think it's, they score a lot of points. They've scored a lot of points on just about everybody they've played. And I think getting off to a fast start is always important in a game, getting off to a good start. Certainly won't be any different in this game. And I think that, people that have been in ball games with them have been able to score enough points to stay in the game, and I think that's going to be important in this game. But I think you got to play all phases of the game well. We're going to have to play well in special teams and control field position, which may affect how far they have to go to drive it. Ball security is very important, getting some turnovers and not giving it up to them. Playing well on defense where you don't give up a lot of big plays and a lot of points, and hopefully offensively being able to move the ball and control the ball, keeping it away from them and scoring points at the same time. So it's really going to be every guy in his role on the team, whatever it is, doing a great job, is going to contribute to what you're talking about.